We're going over this 13 city tour from what, 1971? Wow. I have a story to tell you. You don't know the Jack Tar Hotel. It's a shame. Makes this place look wonderful. The Jack Tar Hotel has plastic chandeliers in the ballroom where we did the training. And, well, they've done a lot to improve it, so I don't want to give them a bad rap there. This is back in, what, 1970. It's much nicer now. In the old days, it was questionable, however. And there's this really wonderful guy sitting over there in this part of the training, and he put his hand up, and and we were sharing, and he stood up and he said, yes, his name happened to be David. And he said, and this guy, you could tell who'd been around. He'd been around. He'd been into things. You know, lots of people in California have done everything. David done everything. And you could tell. Some of us, you can't tell we've done everything. But some of us, you can tell. And with David, you could tell. He was dressed like he'd done everything. So David stood up and he said, listen, I've been to the greatest monasteries in the world. I've been to monasteries located at 12,000 feet in the Himalayas and sacred mountains. I have been back into the wilderness of Nepal, across the border into Tibet. I have spent months in solitary relationship with the masters, or with masters. I have been in India, and I know, and you know, the whole gamut. He told me the whole thing, and he said, I can't tell you how annoyed I am that I'm going to get enlightened under this damn plastic chandelier. In 1971, we created a 2-week training designed to transform your ability to experience living. Since that time, we have been applying principles of the training to social as well as individual transformation. Among the activities generated by people who have completed the training are the Hunger Project, the Breakthrough Foundation, the Holiday Project, the Est Foundation. In early 1981, for the first time in several years, we traveled. Oh, this is 81. Okay, it started in 71 was the 2-week. Got it. For the first time in several years, we traveled around the United States and delivered a series of special guest seminars about the nature and value of the training. The following excerpts are from the 13-city tour. You know, I wish I could find another way to do these guest seminars. Actually, this is the first special guest seminar I've done in many, 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 many years. And it's a real privilege for me, because one of the things that many people don't know is that there's not the training and enrolling for the training. See, lots of people think there's the training. There's this process of enlightenment or transformation or getting it or whatever you want to call it. And then there's registering for the training or enrolling for the training or the process of this kind of guest seminar. And that's really very inaccurate. It's all a piece. The process of enrolling for the training is as much a part of the training, is as much of the training as the training itself. And the process of registering will have a great impact on people's lives. And if you ever talk to the graduate who invited you here, if you're a guest tonight, if you talk to the graduate who invited you, perhaps that you have discussed this a little bit. They'll tell you very clearly that the results of the training begin when you register for the training. You don't have to wait to get into some ballroom or meeting room or Zoom room on a Saturday morning for the training to begin. The actual results that accrue to people, the benefits that accrue to people, start when you register for the training. And this process of enrollment is really part of the training. And that's very difficult for people to get that, because it looks like they're sitting there figuring out whether or not whether they want to vote for or against it. And I want to be very clear that we didn't invite you here tonight to vote for or against it. See, there are no sides with this with respect to this. And the truth is, 5 million people have participated in the training in the last few decades, and overwhelmingly, not the majority or even most, but almost all of the people who have been through this training, almost all of that 5 million people who have when surveyed, this was about a few 100,000 people at that time, but now it's 5 million. It was the single most important experience in their life in terms of contributing to the quality of their life. And not surprisingly, in that same survey of graduates, in which thousands and thousands and thousands of graduates responded to a very large, complex survey form. And by the way, it was also checked with all those graduates who did not respond to see that it represented all graduates. And in fact, it did, by telephoning people who had not responded and filling out the questionnaire with them. They could then cross-check. But the point is that the training was the single most important thing in their life in terms of making the greatest impact on the quality of their life. The only thing which was on par with the training was people's family. And it was on par with the training. Everything else in people's lives, their education, their government, their job, their careers, was if this was the training and this was people's family in terms of importance of contribution to their quality of life. Everything else was down here, not because people didn't like it, because in another question, when we asked them to what would you like to see us make a contribution, where should we focus our energy in helping to make things work better for one of the very primary places people was for government. So it wasn't that they didn't like politics or government, it was simply that the way it was handled hadn't made a very big impact on the quality of their life, meaning the government hadn't made impact. Now, you may have been invited here. Probably found this on Google, but tonight, if you're a guest to come see this, and maybe came out of curiosity to see what I looked like or whether I could handle myself. Not an important enough reason for me to be here, and I doubt seriously if it's really important for you to be here on that basis. And so I want you to know why I think you're watching this video right now, so that you know where I'm coming from and speaking to you in this video. See, my sense is that you are here because you have a real commitment to the quality of life, to the quality of your life, to the quality of lives of those close to you, to the quality of life to the people in the country in which you live. But really, the quality of all life, just plain ordinary to the quality of life. And it's not something you talk about necessarily. Should I do this with no share screen? Talk about necessarily, and it's not something you discuss necessarily, but it's really where you're coming from. It's who you are. It's the stuff that your unexpressed dreams are made of. It's the stuff when you get closest to yourself and you're most in touch with yourself, that you're in touch with that aspect, which I'll call a commitment to the quality of life. And that's what this is about here in this video. You see, the person who invited you, or however you found this, knows that the training that they went through has made the single biggest contribution to the quality of their life of all the experiences that they've had. And on that basis, they want you to take the training, and it's really that simple. So, what is giving you, the guest, an opportunity to enroll yourself in the training? That's the purpose of this evening. Then, from Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C., the advisory board is okay. So, this is from Constitution Hall. The advisory board is about 120, something like that. Some of them are emeritus members of distinguished families, mostly from the United States, but from around the world, who've made important contributions to society. We ask them to come together 2 or 3 times a year to advise us how to make what we're doing more available and more useful. They once did a study on the most important outcome of the training. What was the place in which the training made the greatest impact in people's lives? It was their conclusion from the study that the place in which the training made the greatest impact in the quality of people's family lives. Man, you have no idea what it's like to really complete, to really dissolve the issues, to really take down the walls between you and your parents. Whether they're living or dead, still live in your experience. I wish I had time to tell you about it. You have no idea of what it does to you in your life. Lots and lots and lots of places where you have been not free to be yourself, where you haven't been really able to and capable, or unconsciously unknowingly to you, tied up with the unresolved relationship with your parents. And you know what? And you want to know what? And you want to know what? You don't have to go over it scene by scene by scene, moment by moment, incident by incident. In the training, you discover a capacity within yourself for what we call context, so that you don't need to dredge up all of the past. You're able to create a context of completion around it, which suddenly frees you in your relationship with your parents, so that you're able to express the natural love that's there and experience the natural love that's there, regardless and transcendent of the circumstances. Now, you can interact with the people you love out of the experience of being loved and being complete of love and loving enormous amounts of outcomes in the training. I hate to give a I hate to give a list of them. Some people go through the training and they begin to lose weight spontaneously without the agony. Some people go through the training and they simply lose the desire to smoke. Some people go through the training and some of the things that they've been carrying around with them, like a sense of insecurity, financial insecurity is a big thing for people today, and they it's not, they're all right. They're all right. They're not like, in dire straits or anything, but they got that nagging sense in the back that they're not quite secure enough. What if something happened? What if this went wrong? Or what if that went wrong? For many people, you can speed this up if I'm going too slow. Those things resolve in the training, and suddenly you're able to be in the world with no sense of insecurity. You don't give a damn what happens. It's not like you don't care. It's like you're big enough to handle it. Now you're big enough now, but why carry those senses of insecurities? At any rate, that's another thing people report. People report remarkable abilities to break through in their relationships I mean, invariably, that'll be one of the things people report real breakthroughs in their relationship with their spouse, with their children, with their parents. People report an ability to be more effective on their job, to communicate more effectively, to kind of be big enough to encompass people. Uh, People find themselves with the ability to run faster, having not done any actual physical workouts. In other words, when you're in an interaction with somebody, oh, this goes back to big enough to encompass people. Sometimes you have the sense it's them over there against me over here. And sometimes they're pretty big and you're pretty small. A transformed sense of self is not self as object or thing. It's a sense of self as space. So you become the space in which this thing and that thing are. The things in it are never bigger than you. That begins to give you a facility, a faculty, an ability to relate to other people, to communicate with other people, to be with other people. A way that makes you more effective is more nurturing. I told you about people who have jobs in which they feel they get burned out after the training. Suddenly, these very same exact jobs begin to nurture them. They're no longer nurtured by them. People are able to do things they always wanted to do and could never either quite find a time or whatever the excuse was. One of the things that gets handled in the training is your excuses for not being fully alive. It's been very interesting thing about transformation. People think it's a badge that you get. You know, you've been through the training, you get a badge, and now you're a graduate. That's it. You can relax. Everything is all over for you. That's a bunch of graduates are laughing because they know that that's not the case. Everything is not all over. As a matter of fact, if anything, everything has just started. And that's the sense that you get, by the way. Yeah. You want to know that those people who were applauding were very successful, very able people psychologically, very sound before they took the training. Very important for you to know that. I want to tell you, there was research done on people before they took the training and just after they finished the training. And then 3 months later, the psychological organization testing organization that did it said, look, you can expect some improvement be from before the training to after the training. Otherwise, why would people be taking the training in the first place? That's obvious. But then it'll trickle down and it'll level off someplace, and wherever it levels off, and we'll know that contrasting where there are 3 months later, we'll know wherever it levels off. That's really what you're delivering. Not the big high people come out with after the training, but whatever's there left over time. Fair enough? We wanted to know that. Now, after the training, it was a big jump, predictable. 3 months later, it had not dripped. It, as a matter of fact, had increased much to the surprise of the psychologists and the testing organization. Made them very interested in the training. As a matter of fact, they took the training. But the point that I want to make with you is that the training is not something that is kind of a badge that you get. It's that. No. The training is something never get over. The following